Are we live? Yes, we're live. Hello, my name is Alex Live, and I welcome you to the 2016 Rebel Labs interviews with virtual JAG speakers. Rebel Labs is a content portal run by Zero Turnaround, where you can always find technical content about Java, JVM, and software engineering. So Virtual JAG is naturally the online Java user group where we have the best sessions from the world-class speakers, and today was no exception. Today we have Sven Ruppert. Hi Sven, how are you doing?
Oh, hi. Yeah, I'm fine. Thanks.
That's great. That's great to hear. We just had a little issues with the bandwidth and audio, so hopefully this interview will be fine. So if you want to know more about Sven, he had a lot of experience coding in Java since 1996. He's a fellow and the head of R&D department for the Reply, which is based in Munich, I guess. And in his free time, he's regularly speaking at various conferences, from Java 1 to Java Zones, and the blogs at the blog by the address rapidpm.org. So if you have any questions to Sven about software development or engineering practices or dependency injection, which was the topic of today's session, you can find him on Twitter. He goes by @Sven Ruppert, and that is with double P, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Good. You're smiling. That means I'm correct about that. Good. Let's get to the questions. So let me just recap the format. We'll start with blitz questions, basically yes or no or a choice questions, and then continue with a couple of longer questions about your session. Are you ready?
Yes.
Amazing. So first question: is computer science a real science?
Well, it's more than art.
That's good. Do you prefer static or dynamic typing?
Static one as hard as possible, because I have a lot of colleagues.
That's good. What is your favorite IDE?
IntelliJ. I love it since 2004.
Oh, so you had like 8 years of non-IntelliJ. What is your favorite JVM language?
I can only do a little bit with Java and never really some. But we are just starting a little bit with Kotlin. So let's see if it turns out that's good.
Yeah, Kotlin seems to be on the rise lately. What is your favorite open source project?
To say the truth, my dependency injection framework or my proxy builder I started to the time I was writing my book with Heinz Kabbutz. So
that's a great answer. What is the worst? This one is hard one, so hopefully you can hear me fine. You froze for a moment here. Is it me or is it Sven? Okay, you unfroze. Great. So this is a hard question. Please concentrate. What is the worst thing that a software developer can do, professionally speaking?
Well, drinking tea, not coffee.
Oh,
that's the main thing.
That's pretty terrible. That's pretty terrible, and I would not recommend anyone doing that. Not coming from experience, but it sounds unreasonable. So you gave us a great session on dependency injection, and you went through the list of libraries that do things a little bit differently, trying to highlight what are the differences and how it influences the development environment and everything. So my question is about something you mentioned early. So dependency injection is mostly about automating the life cycles of components and making those life cycles combined into a greater component of a system. So my question is, maybe given that it's kind of like a hard problem that even now we devoted quite a bit of time, maybe we should write our code simpler and just ditch the gigantic frameworks and just go with very simple library approach. Do you think that would be? What are your thoughts on that?
I think, yeah. So okay, since every time I'm jumping to big projects, I start to remove source code. That's the first thing. And mostly they're using huge frameworks and using only a very, very tiny piece of it. So why I started with, for example, with cross-functionality things. I started with this proxy builder because it's a very easy design pattern, more or less. You can do everything with plain core Java inside your JDK, and you don't need additional stuff. But you use it for functionality like logging, metrics, security, remotes, hiding technical stuff. So I think reducing complexity means get rid of all the things you have only because it's there. And then with every additional library, think exactly about the functionality you really need, and maybe sometimes it's easier to re-implement only the 3 or 5 functions we are using and get rid of a second version, a second library, different lifecycle and all this stuff. So decreasing complexity, yes. Making small pieces, I really love it. Being as possible only in your plain JDK, it's perfect. So I had this one example. There was a customer, they had a huge server, a huge JBoss, and they had a few SOAP requests, and then I asked, oh, how many? And he told me, hey, 200. And I told 200 seconds per minute. And reducing the full EE stack with only the SOAP endpoint from JDK was solving a lot of problems. Well, it was easy. So, yeah, reducing, that's the main part.
Yeah, that is true. Reusability and simplifying scope is important. So a different approach to this question: do dynamic languages like, say, JavaScript, exactly because JavaScript is all hype now, do those languages need dependency injection?
Well,
and do
you
so,
want to yeah?
Sorry. And like, do you know of like libraries that an effort that is trying to solve those in there, or this is more just Java world specific? What do you think?
Well, I think dependency injection will give you the possibility to get off things inside your static semantics. So if you have a language with a hard static semantic, then dependency injection frameworks will give you something you are getting from dynamically typed languages, but you have more the possibility to make sure that's going in a way you want to have. So I'm not really sure if there's any dependency injection framework for JavaScript. I don't know. But I think every hard-typed language will have something like this. And for Java, it makes sense because you can decouple systems and you can reduce technical stuff and make code quite easy for your colleagues, so that you have only your business stuff there and all the technical stuff, get rid of it. It's somewhere. And you have a few guys that are cool with this and they manage the dependencies. So I have no idea if other languages are using so much dependency injection. I'm only working in Java.
That's a good answer. I was honestly really curious because, well, JavaScript is really on the rise, and I have never seen anything like dependency injection for JavaScript, though I haven't done JavaScript professionally at all, so
Same for me.
Ignorant here. So what, going into maybe a bit more details, so dependency injection balances readability and flexibility with the performance of the initializing the graph, right? What library out of those that you went over in the session? So that was Welt, Boon, Dagger, Dagger2, HK2, Rapid PM, DDI. So out of those, let's exclude yours to be fair and honest. Which one balances readability versus performance the best, would you say? And do you think this is a reasonable trade-off, or this is something of a past and now everyone is just super fast?
Yeah, well, fast is the second question. So first, I want to have it easy. I want to get rid of annotations, XML, or too strange naming conventions. And this was the point why I started with the dynamic dependency injection to minimize aggressively all these points. On the other side, this means this dynamic part doesn't mean that it's slow. So on my easy laptop, I have more than 3 million injects per second. So this is, for the more things, enough. It's not so bad. And it's easy to maintain. You need only a few days to get to every single line of code to understand what's going on. So if you're in an EE environment, then I would say use the EE environment dependency injection. For example, if you're using Weld, if you have a JBoss or whatever, it's fine because you are inside your world and everything fits together. If you have a Spring ecosystem, use the Spring dependency injection. It's part of your stack. It's well integrated. Use this one. And you can do a lot of dynamic stuff if you're looking a little bit more deep inside. But with microservices, for example, I don't have an EE stack. I don't need a Spring stack, for example. I only have technologies bound together. And then it makes sense to check all the small libraries. But then if you have Java 7 or you have Java 8 or you want to have with annotation processing, it really depends what fits to the rest of the architecture you're using. And then decide what's going on there. But I always want to check how easy it could define this object graph and how good this object graph is maintainable during runtime. So, well, check it. It's the only answer I can give. Check it.
Yeah, and this is a good answer, actually. And figuring out how maintainable the graph of dependencies is during runtime is probably one of the most important questions that you can ask to DI library. So the final question, if you could recommend any resources, or where should our readers go if they want to know more about dependency injection, how did you become an expert on this, besides like experience, of course, if you know such things?
Well, yeah, well, it's hard to find good documentation about it. So, for example, the basic pattern you're using for dependency injection is more or less proxy pattern. And this was a point why Heinz and we started writing, in the moment, only a German book about proxies, only proxies. If you understood one and how you could create proxies efficiently, then you will understand what's going on with dependency injection frameworks, why they're working in a way they're doing it. For example, class reusing and only method handles proxying and all this stuff. But if you understood really the complete proxy stuff, then I think you're the best way to deal with dependency injection frameworks, because this is the main thing. If someone wants to see something about proxies, if you can read German, well, check the book I wrote with Heinz, for sure. But on the other side, Heinz wrote a few things on his newsletter, I think 180, 101 around, with dynamic object adapters. It's a very good pattern. And you can check, for example, the tutorial from John about proxies. It's last year one. And yeah, that's the main thing. Also, proxy builder implementation, www.proxybuilder.org. There's a small library that will give you the possibility to create a huge amount of proxies in different ways, with dynamic proxies, in-memory compile, annotation processing, dynamic one, static one. Check it out. It's easy.
Doesn't sound so tiny. But yeah, I understand.
It's really tiny. It's really tiny. It's only a few thousand lines of code, so it's easy to understand. But proxies is the main pattern. Dependency injections are proxies.
That's great. Thank you so much for your answers. Everyone listening to us, watching this video or listening to us on the podcast, this was Sven Ruppert, and that was a great session on dependency injection. So be sure to watch the session in full in the video. And thank you, Sven. I really enjoyed this.